progress because WoW didn't offer it in the game itself. People went out and made websites about it. And that was just something that it was really something people liked. I remember every time we downed a boss, I would go to WoW Progress and update our thing to see if we climbed the ladder. All right, Trial of the Week. The Trial of the Week starts and ends at specific times, which will be different for North American and European mega servers. North American Trial of the Week starts on Tuesdays at 2 p.m., ends the following Tuesday at 8 p.m. Or 8 a.m.
So
Eastern Daylight Time.
What is there, like a 10-hour window where you can't do it? I don't get it.
I think at that point in time, Tuesdays are what they're setting aside for their maintenance schedule. So I think that's why. European Trial of the Week starts Tuesday at 6 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time and ends the following Tuesday at 12 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. If you are on the trial leaderboard, you will be rewarded when the Trial of the Week ends and you can expect your item in the mail. A new Trial of the Week is selected at the Trial of the Week start time. The Trial of the Week leaderboard is cleared when the new Trial of the Week begins. This sounds like it's a separate.
Oh, okay. So you know what this is? If you make the top 100 every week, you're gonna get an extra reward. That's all it is.
Right, and I think this also is a neat way that I think what's going to happen is Guild Wars 1 had this, where they had dungeon times and dungeon scores, but they had it separated by week, month, and all time. They will have a top 100, which will be for all time for the length the game is still active. Now when the new Adventure Zone goes off and maybe some of the harder end guilds have moved on to a different one, maybe some of the lower guilds can come together and use the Trial of the Week as a way of having a bit of friendly competition between other guilds that are of their caliber. You know what I mean? Because that will wipe the best time in the world for all time will not appear on that every week unless they do it every week. You know what I mean? Guild A scores a 15-minute flat timer on this run. Okay, best time ever. They are number one and they're leading by leaps and bounds. First week, they're there. Next week, they decide, okay, we have the best time. Let's not do it again. We're just done running it until someone beats our time. The Trial of the Week will restart, and their name won't be on the top of the list. Now, if you go to the top 100, it will be for all time, but the Trial of the Week, it will not. So, I see. And they also said for giving the rewards, so you have to be on this, you have to see your name on this Trial of the Week in order to get the bonus loot. Kind of neat.
You know what else is cool is the fact they call it Trial of the Week and that Trial is the name of their raid. That it's promising that there'll be more trials in the future, maybe the near future, where you'll have to do a specific one a week. You have to do Craglorn this week. Next week you have to do Smoople Boople raid, and then after that it's Craglorn again. Maybe they'll rotate it like that.
That sounds like a raid that would be in Maple Story.
Yeah, you can probably hear an airplane flying over my house right now.
I do. Sounds like a B-52 bomber at the moment, actually.
Yeah, I live near an airport.
I see. Oh, interesting. All right, well, while he's getting bombed, let's move on to the next section. Dungeon chest changes. Thank goodness above. I love this.
You skipped a part.
Oh, yes, I did. Sorry. Rewind. Veteran rank updates. You can now earn veteran rank 12 as you continue your adventures in Craglorn. Additionally, the veteran XP earned from killing enemies has more than doubled. Well, they're adding 2 more veteran ranks to the current cap of 10.
That's not fair because we're not even at 10.
We're not even at 1.
I'm at 2.
Woot. All right, so they're increasing the cap from veteran rank 10 to 12. Excellent. And it looks like they're making it so when you kill monsters, you get more. So maybe it's a little easier to grind. Dungeon chests and changes. Changes within instances have undergone 2 changes. Shared chest, which is good. Each player in a group who is within 50 meters of a chest when it is unlocked gets an individual role in the chest. That's good because I know there was a lot of people stealing. Reduce the number of chests. Since each chest yields rewards for all group members, we have reduced the number of chests in instances to 2 total. Each instance will always have 2 chests in them, but the location of the 2 chests will be random within the dungeon. These changes do not affect chests that appear in public spaces, only those within instances. There was I've seen a bunch of people complaining about this, where you would have that, let's just call him uncool player A, because I don't want to use some of the vernacular that other people have used to call these people, because we are a family-friendly show. Unfriendly player A does not help when bosses and stuff are pulled or monsters are pulled. They sneak around and unlock the chest while the healer and the tank and the good player are helping clear the dungeon, and therefore they get all the loot. If you're unsure of how dungeons currently work within the game, other games, when you down a boss, they have a guaranteed loot table, and then people roll on it. How this game works is they have instance loot, but that doesn't mean you always get loot. And actually, more often than not, you get a soul gem and some gold, and that's it. You don't get the special blue item or whatever it is that drops from the dungeon, because they do have a drop list, but doesn't mean you'll get stuff from it. It's not a guaranteed drop every time. So more often than not, a lot of the chests in the instances were the best way to get gear. But when you had that one unfriendly player A running around stealing them from people while they're trying to help clear the dungeon, you couldn't, you kind of got gypped for being a good player. What do you guys think?
I like it.
I hate this change.
Really?
Absolutely hate it. Yes, I do.
And let me introduce you to unfriendly player A.
That's actually why
do you not like this change? I'm curious.
Because I'm the person that goes through the dungeon after everyone's done, and I open every chest, I open every bag, every barrel, because most people don't care about the chests.
The heavy sacks people need to start caring about.
Let me preface this by saying every single time we went into a dungeon, we went in with guildies who've been vastly over-leveled. That sentiment changes once you're in veteran dungeons and the gear is actually relevant to the people.
Yes.
That's not entirely true. Our first dungeon that we ever did, we did with players that we found. And for the entire dungeon, we were getting yelled at to go quicker. They didn't want to open anything, and they were the correct level for that dungeon, which meant that I could have everything in that dungeon once we were done, as long as I backtracked. So I feel that if you're the type of player that explores every nook and cranny, then you should be the person who gets that special chest that's hidden at the end of the river but behind the waterfall, next to the large rock that's hiding the chest. That's me. I want that chest. So making it so that it's shared, I'm okay with that. But don't reduce the number so vastly. Make it so that you want to explore every nook and cranny of the dungeon.
I can tell you why they probably did this, though. They probably did it. The whole reason why they had so many chests is because they wanted everyone to be friendly and share the chests. So they put a lot out there.
Good
so
luck with that.
They'd be like, oh, I got the last one. You take this one. So there was enough for everyone to get a couple. Probably.
Oddly enough, what happened in a lot of my leveling groups in dungeons is some random guy would loot the chest. Me personally, I didn't really care because there was usually crap. But somebody would loot the chest and they would actually link what they got in party chat. That happened a lot, actually. I was kind of surprised by that. But this change, I think it's only positive, personally.
I think it's negative, personally. I want all those chests. All the loot shall be mine.
Okay, coming from a selfish area, we see that. That's why she doesn't like the change. But for the rest of us, decent people, we actually, I see where it is, and to be honest, it's a good change. It is.
See, one of the main reasons I love chests so much is because Ag is always ahead of me in experience. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how it happens, but when you open chests, you get experience. So I have to tackle and jump on every chest I see to make sure my experience is level with his, and it never is.
I'm going to stop her right here and say one thing. She made such a fit over me being a higher experience. I have not touched chest, and she cannot lie and say I don't. Every time I see a chest, I'm like, babe, there's a chest over here. She's like, well, don't you want? I'm like, no. It's not worth you yelling at me for being higher level. You open it. So I've had to give up the rights to all chests so that she's happy. So as much as all the guys out there are saying, oh man, I wish my wife would play with me or my significant other would play with me, just know if that happens, you have to deal with this. All right, we're going to move on to the next thing before I get shot. Death recap. Well, we talked about that a little bit. We'll skip over that one. Alliance war changes. A new population underdog bonus has been added when your alliance is outnumbered in a campaign determined over several days of population samples. You will receive a bonus to potential scoring and alliance points. You'll see an indication of this bonus in the scoring UI if it is active. The XP awarded for killing enemy players, has been doubled, and XP rewards for completing the quest to kill 20 player characters has also been increased. This is a change they did in Dark Age of Camelot. I know they did it. It was called the underpopulated realm status, that when you got that, to entice players to come in and make it more fair, because no one wants... I can tell you right now, there's several campaigns that when we were trying to decide, I outright was like, no, we're not going there, because I was going to say a faction, but almost everyone knows it was the Aldmari Dominion, was so overpopulated that no one else had a chance, and no one wants to do that. So we avoid it. And actually, every one of those servers that was overpopulated with AD tend to broke apart because once they took everything, there was no PvP because no one else wanted to play. But to entice people to play on, say, let's say Daggerfall Covenant, because they seem to be the lower ones here between all three factions as a whole, they get a bonus going, okay, we're on Dawnbreaker. Well, AD and Ebonheart Pact are about even, but they have 3 players to every 1 player of Daggerfall Covenant. So let's give a bonus to Daggerfall to try to make it so that people want to pick Daggerfall.
Fantastic change. I love this.
I like it too.
Yeah, there's really nothing you can really say about that. It's a good change. They did it in Dark Age of Camelot. It entices people to want to go and help, not go, oh, I'll just look for the one that we're overpopulated on.
I really hope it means though that if the overpopulated portion has, I don't know, veteran rank PvPers, and the underpopulated portion has that bonus, if the underpopulated portion will be able to even take on that veteran player. I hope they stand a chance, because if not, then even with the bonus, they'll still be so overpowered. Because remember the one veteran player that decimated our whole team?
That won't come into it because they will assume everyone will eventually be of a certain veteran rank. It's only numbers. So what they'll do is they'll sample going, okay, Ebonheart had 100 players every single day come into this campaign. AD had 100 players, but DC only had 20 on average, so we'll increase it. They won't care about the veteran rank. We'll probably still run into that.
Yeah, you're not understanding. I'm just hoping that the buff is significant, to make sure they actually have a chance. They don't say how much it's being buffed.
I think it's a point buff. I don't think it's a stat buff.
Yeah, it's not a stat buff. It's so that the people get more points. So if we were the higher population, we get 100 points for taking a castle.
I get it.
They'll get 300 to make
I
it.
see.
Yeah. So it won't affect leveling at all or anything of that nature. You won't be more powerful or anything of that.
I didn't take notice to that. I thought it meant stats as well, so you'd be stronger, so you had more of a chance. Oh, well then you still really won't have that much of a chance because you won't have any players.
Well,
that's going to be difficult.
Not if it's maybe it's if you're getting different points for that. It's maybe people who want to be emperor. You'll get 3 times the amount of points toward, you'll get 1 point for an enemy kill. I'll get 3. So if you look at a visual graph of a bar going up, we each kill individual players. You'll eventually get overtaken, And
But then your underperforming faction has to take all those keeps.
well, that's neither
That's
here
the
nor
problem.
there, but that yeah, that is a problem. But if you're in an organized group, say you have 100-player guild, but you're the only 100-player guild in there, and there's 1,500 players. If you can get your organized group to go in and take everything, well, then it'll be easy for you to be emperor. That kind of stuff.
Can we get to my favorite patch note ever?
This is the last part of the notes that we'll be going over. Everything else is fixes and improvements. High resolution enemy textures. New higher resolution textures for all non-humanoid enemies are now available. These will be viewed automatically. Krabby, why don't you tell us a little bit
Man,
about that?
anything with higher resolution textures just makes me so happy. Anybody, God knows what kind of resolution they're going to, but anybody who has played Skyrim and mods it, look at 1K textures versus 2K. Look at 2K textures versus 4K textures. It's the difference is crazy. And hopefully it's something with, for all non-humanoid enemies. Yeah, that is just nothing but awesome. I love graphical improvements a lot.
I do too. They definitely make the game look very nice, and it's just amazing when they add new graphics. Do you have anything to say about the textures?
Woohoo! Happy about it.
Okay. That insightful comment was brought to you by my loving wife, Thais. All right. Anyone have anything else to say about the 1.1 patches before we move on?
/Apple. Hello.
Isn't that just /eat2 now or something?
Yes.
Oh wait.
They edited the
I
following.
thought they added new
current
ones.
emotes.
Oh no.
They did.
Where's
They
the
added /torch and /kick.
/torch.
Oh, awesome. /torch is great, actually.
I love
and-
torch.
The two that were edited are /eatbread is now /eat2, and /apple is now /eat3.
The amount of bug fixes and balance changes for each class is just out of control. Like scrolling down this list.
I was gonna say this we went over all that kind of stuff. Okay, the actual list of bug fixes and improvements, we went down about an eighth of the page, if that.
Worst change: you can no longer chop wood while mounted. What the hell? Okay, whatever.
Nerf.
Unsubbing.
Darn use that. Unsubbing right now because of that. I want to say this first off to the people who were skeptical, and some of the reviewers and stuff like that. These changes are immense. The amount of work they're doing on this game is mind-boggling. I adore it, and I really hope people continue, even if they're a little whatever with the game at the moment, if you're enjoying it but are just frustrated with bugs, hang in there. Look at these patch notes and see what all they're adding. It is an amazing, amazing thing they're doing.
I'm still scrolling. It's not ending.
I know. It's the whole list for the 1.1 patch is massive, guys. Absolutely massive. All we talked about was less than an eighth of the page.
We were going nuts
so
in guild chat too. When I first saw it, I was freaking out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to go look at it right away too. It is massive. All right, we're gonna move on to our next section, the Tales of Tamriel, my favorite. Krabby, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you are doing in the game? And as always, let's start off with if you've made any changes to your character mechanic-wise. Why don't you tell us about where you're at with that?
So I'm not going to cover the PvP thing because I'm pretty sure you guys are going to talk about that.
Yeah, we probably will.
Mechanic-wise, I'm at a point where I'm not sure about a lot of things. Crystal Shard for Sorcerer and Mage's Fury they're so good that if you're a ranged mage, a sorcerer, you cannot not use those. You have to. So that's my 1 and 2. My 5th ability is Mage Light because 20% more crit is stupid. My 4th ability has been changing. It's either Bound Armor or Summon Twilight Matriarch. Don't know. My 3rd ability is Elemental Ring. which is a destruction staff ability. But that's the thing. I'm not sure. And see, I'm trying to build my character for group content, and I'm not sure if Elemental Ring is worth it. But at the same time, I don't want to add another direct damage ability because Crystal Shard beats pretty much everything. So
I do have a question for you, Crab.
Sure.
You can enlighten me because I don't play a sorcerer. Elemental Ring, is that a destruction staff ability?
yes, it is a destruction staff ability. It's an AoE that you click it and it shoots out all around you. It's the ring of fire that shoots out of me. You may have seen it.
What? Yeah, is it the one that maybe that VR10 ranked sorcerer was destroying us with?
Probably. No, you know what? No, those two guys, I'm pretty sure they were vampires using Bat Swarm. That was crazy.
I saw fire, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
The one was just AoE fire, point blank area of effect fire around them, and it was crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm torn about my fourth ability. I don't know. My third and fourth abilities, I'm still not totally sure what I'm going to use yet. I really want to use something fire because I am a dark elf, but I don't know if I'll get around to it. You know, I had a bit of a revelation this morning when I woke up and logged in. So, all week, I kind of haven't been playing Elder Scrolls that much, maybe a little bit, because I hit Veteran Rank 1 or level 50, and I played the game so much, I just wanted to take a break. So I would log in all week. I might do a quest. I would change my research, get that going, but I didn't really play. And, you know, all week, I'm reading these mediocre reviews about the game, giving it a 6 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, which, as a side note, 7 out of 10, I agree with that. I love the game. I think it's a great game, but I do agree with the 7 out of 10. But, you know, and people are just slamming the game, and I'm getting kind of upset and everything about it. And, you know, I woke up this morning, and I log in, and I'm just like, you know, I thought to myself, I'm sitting there going, do I really want to play this game for the next few years? And I thought about it, and I'm thinking, I'm like, you know, MMOs are a genre, and the MMO genre is third-person RPG with social features. And I'm sitting there going, if I quit this and if I play, let's say WildStar, just as an example, say I play WildStar, it's going to be the same thing, just endgame is going to be different and the lore is going to be different. And I said, you know, I love this game. I love Elder Scrolls, and I'm just going to keep playing it and, you know, F you to everybody who doesn't like it, because the game's not going anywhere. It's not going to shut down in a year. It's not going to shut down in 2 years. Would it go free to play? It might. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. Eve is still pay to play. You know, SWTOR went free to play after, I think, a year and a half. But, you know, I thought about it today, and I was like, you know, I love this game, and I'm so happy to be playing it. Because everything felt good this morning when I woke up and logged in. I was like, I'm just happy. It was like a little mini revelation I had with myself about MMOs. About MMOs as a whole. I feel like I finally found what I really wanted. It has the end game I like in terms of the trials. It's not super hardcore like WildStar is going to be. Some people like that, and that's fine. But I'm kind of over that. And I was just, and I was down about the game all week. I was really down about it because the game gets a lot of crap. I mean, it does. But if you like it, enjoy yourself time playing the game and forget everybody who doesn't like it. Even if it's criticisms, because you like what you like, the developers will fix bugs when there's problems. And, you know, I was just happy.
I know what you're feeling. Like, what you were saying is, we were talking about this earlier in the week, is it's not so much even, you let things get to you, especially with, like you said, I think it's just the it thing to hate the game. I really think it is. But it's like you sit there and you read reviews, and that's what our whole episode last time was about, was you read the reviews, and it's just like, man, is this game... But whenever I got into the game, every single thing I had read or whatever, just because I adore it. It was a blast. I loved it, you know? and I don't see all the crap they do. So yeah, if
I
you
mean,
enjoy it, go.
everything just clicked today. It was like I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't playing the game much last week because I was kind of burnt out because I played so much to get to level 50. And after last week's episode about the negative reviews we were talking about and just all the crap, I just woke up and I was like, you know what, I like this, and I'm gonna see where it goes, and I'll keep playing for as long as it's still fun, and it's seeming like it's gonna be fun for a very long time. So that wasn't much of a story, a tale, but it was more of a little revelation I had this morning about how I felt about the game. So that is all I have right now.
That's all right. You can chime in a little bit when we talk about the PvP because we're going to talk about that first. Okay. So it's our time, Thais and Aggelos, and for a minor part, Krabby. We had a PvP event this week for the guild, and I'm going to say I had a blast. I did. It was a lot of fun. I know, Thais, did you have a lot of fun?
I really did. I was worried. I was scared that we weren't going to be able to take anything. It was just going to be a massacre with our guild's blood just shed all over the place. But it turned out to be a really fun night. We were able to do so much.
And I would ask Krabby, but I know he had some internet issues.
Oh, it was great. It was awesome. We're sitting there sieging this keep. All of a sudden, these 2 veteran rank 10s come in and literally kill 18 of us. And then I lose internet for the next 2 hours.
I feel
It
bad
was
for
great.
Krab.
It was awesome.
Because he was with us for the whole thing. Was like we were there for like 3 hours. I think we started at 6 o'clock, and around 9:15 is where I think we were like, okay, we're gonna officially end the guild event. And I know some people stayed and kept going, but I know that at 3 hours we were in there for quite a while. And it was just poor Krabby. He was there with us probably first hour and a half. And just as we were getting ready to take the keep that we had been fighting for like an hour and a half, internet died.
Awful. I wanted to murder people. It was so bad. Ugh.
I know. He sent me a message from his phone going, dude, my internet died. I'm like, oh, dude, that's awful. Hey, we just took that keep. And then I felt like a jerk. I'm like, great, I just rubbed that in.
You definitely did. I was like, what a... Ugh. I was like, what a jerk.
I know. It was pretty sad. One thing that really stuck out to me, though, that I thought was really funny, we had our group of guildies, and I gotta say thank you to all the guildies who came out. We had 14 people, I think, or something like that. It was a good number of people. We had at least 3 full groups plus a few stragglers at different points, so 12 to 14. But my favorite time was when Krabby got separated from us when we were trying to take Fort Ash. And we all hid behind the tree.
Oh, and I was on the other side trying to get over.
Yeah, you were running around, and this one lone Templar spotted Krabby. He's like, oh, I'm going to take him out, and starts charging after Krabby. Krabby comes running past the tree, and this Aldmari Dominion Templar comes running out like, I'm gonna chase him. I backed him in a corner. All of a sudden, all like 14 of us spread out from around the tree. He just stopped dead in his tracks. He's like, oh crap. Turns around, tries to run. We just all like hammer him down. I died. It was so funny because this guy's like, I'm gonna kill him, and then all of us just pop out from behind this tree, and you can just see his eyes get huge, going, "Oh no!"
The best part of that moment for me was poor Malgustus kept dying over and over and over again because he could not get to us. So as we're all hiding behind this tree and we're trying to kill this other guy, Mog is just running dead. Running dead. Poor guy must have died 5, maybe 6 times, and he's over vent going, I don't know how to get to you guys. I'll find a way.
What we had originally started is when we got the group together, we started in the northern Morrowind Gate. we all grabbed the quest, and I made sure everyone grabbed some siege. And you know what? I noticed I grabbed all trebuchets.
That's what I did too.
I wish I would have got a ballista. Like at least a ballista or a catapult or a ram. Next time we do something like that, I'm definitely grabbing a ram. At least one or two rams and one or two ballista, and then I'll load up on trebuchets because they're nice for almost everything. But that ballista would have been great. Um, we decided we started up at Fort Aswal because the northern section of Cyrodiil. I think it's part of Daggerfall Covenant territory, but we did own that. So it was kind of neat because the main force as a whole was going after the scrolls. So we had almost all of our home keeps we owned and part of Aldmari Dominion because it was the Aldmari Dominion who held the extra scrolls. And there was a big offensive pushing south from the east. And as we're pushing south down into Aldmari Dominion, our group started in the northern section and we kind of had a pincer move. We only had a small group, which was kind of nice, but we had fairly limited resistance, mostly because a lot of the main force is being drug away trying to defend the scrolls. So it was kind of a fairly fair fight. I think we outnumbered them a little bit. There was 5 or 6 other players to our 12, but they had the benefits of the walls and the NPC guards. So that was a lot of fun. They also had those 2 veteran rank people. Oh my goodness.
I have to explain this to everyone. The one keep we took, we knocked down the wall, we went in, and then we're standing on the wall, we're knocking down the door, and we're all excited because the door is going down. It's going down pretty quick. And this is the first time we had been able to set up on the wall. And all of a sudden, everyone turns to the left, and there's one veteran rank 10 guy, and everyone's on vent yelling to kill this one guy. In a matter of, I don't know, 15 seconds, he killed all 14 of us. We were just all decimated.
Yeah, and the Nook in chat is mentioning something. I'm actually going to get to that because it was really cool. But we decided as we're heading south from Fort Aswell, we decided we are going to take Fort Ash. We had a little bit of trouble taking the resources as we were trying to get used to the group. We had a lot of people who were up-leveled to 50, and it was kind of rough. But once we started doing that, we took all the resources. We started laying siege to Fort Ash. And one thing that the Nook was saying in our chat right here was his favorite part was when he nailed a player dead on with a trebuchet. We had lined up our set of trebuchets along the southern wall, and we were pounding at the gate. Some of the people inside decided they were going to set up a trebuchet of their own on the wall and target it at our group of people. And they started throwing it, and everyone's like, start targeting the trebuchet. So we're throwing it at the wall, and we were missing. And the Nook actually went and dead on hit it, and all of a sudden everyone got the quest update. One player killed. It's like, yeah, kill them. That was awesome. I know I did a lot of the targeting, and I think on your trebuchet, we were almost exclusively targeting. Anytime we saw a siege weapon go up on the wall, we were targeting our trebs at it.
The one guy would get in the treb, shoot it, and then leave the treb until it reloaded. So Ag and I are on our trebs trying to nail this guy. I think that's the guy that he killed, wasn't it?
No, this was a different one. It was one of the first ones. Then he got smart, I think, when he came back and started doing the waiting for it to load thing.
So we never actually killed that guy that kept leaving and hitting us, and that makes me sad.
Oh, we did once we got you and me and one other person on it, because he would wait for me to fire, and then he would think, oh, it's okay, I'll go back in, and then you and I forget who the other person was, would target, and he'd get hit with 2 other trebs and die. We did kill him once before he figured out the trick, but by that point in time, we had already knocked our way through the wall. And I remember going up on top of the wall. This is the first time we ran into the veteran rank 10 people. We all lined up on the wall, and I had everyone in the trebs targeting the postern door on the one side, and I had everyone going, okay, I need scout reports from people who are not on trebs to keep an eye out for enemies and let us know if they're on, coming up. But do not let them bait you off the walls. That's when we found the veteran rank guys coming up the rampart, the one corner tower, and started wrecking us. But we did actually manage to kill them off over several times. I think they wiped us out. They repaired the outer wall, but not the inner postern door. So we had to reset up trebuchets, take down the wall again, go in, set up on top of the rampart again, and start firing the postern wall. We went in and stayed outside the gate. And this is where I was saying about having a smaller group of people. We had to be very strategic about yanking the guards out. We didn't want to just run in, worry about getting oil dropped on our heads. And we started shooting. The guys came out and murdered us again. Third time we had to re-rally, but by this point in time, I guess they had given up because we'd already like 2 walls down as well as the postern door, and we were able to get in and actually capture Fort Ash as a guild, which was really cool. That guild I think we took exclusively with just the Tales of Tamriel guild, Wings of Fate. We took out that keep. We had 1 or 2 people. I think 1 or 2 people joined us, but 95% was our guild, and that was really cool. We moved down south. We decided, hey, we're going to keep moving on this, and we kept heading down south. We took whatever that outpost is called. I can't remember. When we hit the VR rank 10 guys again, they wiped out our entire group. We had to regroup again and take that one outpost. And then we met up at Robeck. Fort Robeck was what on the southern side in the Aldmar Dominion lands of Cyrodiil, and started wailing on the keep. But by this point in time, we had joined up with the larger force that was taking the scrolls, and they started attacking from the western side. We were attacking from the eastern side. And it was really funny because we really weren't coordinating. We just happened to reach it from the one side, or the northern side, and they were coming from the south. And we happened to reach it at the same time. And we kept nailing at the wall. Like, we shot the postern door and got the door down to 0%, but apparently that doesn't allow you in. So we started attacking the walls. And in the meantime, the other guys had broken through the walls and captured the keep, and we were just still firing on the walls.
No one had noticed that someone had taken over the keep. So as we're shooting, everyone in events going, it's not taking any damage. What's going on? I don't understand. And then finally someone goes, hey, guys, we now own that keep. Then we all cheer, yay! We didn't really do it, but we won, yay!
Yeah, that was kind of silly, but we did lose that, or we did capture that keep. All right. At this point in time, do you have or Crab, you have anything else to say about the PvP night other than we had a blast?
Yeah, it was a great hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a sore subject for Krabby. All right. Ace, anything else about the PvP night?
I loved it.
We need to do it again.
Oh, we will. We will.
We have to make sure that Krabby's internet fails, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That has to be a regular occurrence.
That marks when we start, because we were kind of stalemated until he disconnected. Then we start taking everything.
You can't
so that
see it,
must
Thais,
be our...
but I'm flipping you off right now.
Good to know. I love you too, Krabby.
All right. At this point in time, we are going to move into our personal story time. And I do want to say there's probably going to be some heavy spoilers. So if anyone is not interested in hearing the events of Shadowfen, please skip ahead to the next section. If you're in the iTunes description or the description of the website, anything like that, at the very bottom of the list, I do provide timestamps for when we go into the next section. And the next section will be the dramatic reading. So I put exact timestamps. You can go ahead and skip to that section now if you do not want to hear spoilers about the Shadowfen zone, because we did finish it. All right, so now that we did the spoilers, we're gonna go ahead and talk about Shadowfen. Thais, we're gonna start with you. Our note is stopping the skin stealers. And what was that? Oh, I have to begin it. Okay. Um, as we talked last week, we had been making our way through this fetid swamp, which is Shadowfen. Now, overall, I really liked the zone. What about you?
I think so far Shadowfen has been my favorite questing zone because I loved the story about it. But as most people know, I'm a gigantic Argonian lover. I'm all about the Argonians, and this zone was all about the Argonians. So of course I'm going to enjoy it.
Um, as we were talking last week, we were on the trail of the Skin Stealers. They were a group of Aldmari Dominion who had perfected a way of using the hiss sap to not only steal the memories of the people they killed, but also to steal their faces. It was an alchemical an alchemical procedure, I guess is the best way of saying it, where this Aldmari alchemist named Ruvatar had found a way of mixing the hiss sap in such a way as to allow this to happen. He had stolen an item known as the Mnemic egg. Now, I'm going to actually let Thais talk about this because I think you know a little bit more about what the Mnemic egg represented than I do, but he was using it to sever the connection of the Hist and the Argonians. Can you give us a little bit of background?
The Mnemic egg was essentially a representation of the connection that the Argonians have to the Hist. And it was originally situated at the hatching pools where, all the baby Argonians would sprout and like feel the connection. That's what would happen. And when he captured the Mnemic egg, he was corrupting it, trying to use the Mnemic egg to make it so that the Argonians could no longer feel the Hist. By lying to the egg, by infecting it, it was something that was devastating to all the Argonians because without the connection to the Hist, they can't survive, they can't thrive. It would pretty much mean their entire existence would end. So this Mnemic egg was really, really important to the Argonians. And a lot of the quests that took place here revolved around figuring out why they wanted this to happen.
We had come at the behest of some of the Argonians to find out what's happening at the hatching pools, a ceremonial grove used by the Argonians of Shadowfen to hatch their clutches of eggs. All Argonians bring their eggs to the hatching pool to be ritually hatched under the history boughs. Upon arriving at the hatching pools, the entire place is surrounded, it is besieged by the Aldmari Dominion. But they're not harming the actual egg keepers.
They were harming anybody who tried to leave. Anybody who tried to leave, they killed. As long as you stayed, you were okay.
Right. And as we were venturing in, we snuck into the hatching pools and working with the different people, asking them, what is going on? Like, why are they doing it? And no one knew. They're killing anyone who tries to leave the hatching pools, but they're not attacking us. They want the hatching to go forward. And as we were assisting, they had corrupted the hatching and the tree was poisoned and all the eggs started to die. And we had to rescue all the eggs from the hatching pool, or as many as we could get.
It was so sad because when it tells you to save as many eggs as you can, so as you run underneath this huge history and you see just all these clutches of eggs, and they're big eggs. If anyone's seen an Argonian egg, they're rather large, and you're just told to save as many as you can. And so many eggs died that day. And in my head, I feel like my
Oh, I was just gonna say, here's one point that you can even pull into. The main leader of the hatching pool sacrificing himself to Sithis to stop the void from taking the eggs. He actually allowed himself to die to satisfy the endless void to not eat the eggs while we were trying to defend. So he actually was taking the poison into himself just long enough that we could rescue eggs.
I feel like my character could only save 4 eggs. That's just how many eggs I feel like my character could carry. She could only carry 4. So I only made it out of there with 4 of these Argonian eggs, and there was just so many that died from that poison.
It was a pretty sad event, and we found out that it was all because of the Mnemic egg and what they were experimenting on that was causing, while Ruvatar had the Mnemic egg and performing his experiments on it, the hiss themselves, the hive mind connection were not allowing him or allowing the eggs to hatch. It was killing them all. It was the eggs could not commune with the hiss and was causing them to die off. After forcing the Aldmari Dominion away and putting a stop to the plan, we find that we have to find the Mnemic egg, and they do tell us where he ran off to in a place called Loricel, an Iliad rune in the depths of Black Marsh. Along the way, we have to collect what are known as the keystones to allow us entry into the sacred chambers in the inside of the city. But before we did that, I do have a note of eating shrooms and tripping out to find Argonian spirits. Hey, so why don't you tell us a little bit about this one?
Oh, you
Don't even.
you would know about that, Thais, wouldn't you? Eh? Cool.
But yeah, I'm all about, tripping and shrooming. What was your song?
Oh, modeling it off of. I wish I could remember the name of it, and if I do, I'll put it in there. But I made my song up. Originally, it was a marijuana song called "I Packed This Bowl for Two." It goes. I said, "I tapped this hist for 2, and I wanna lick it with you." I'm gonna make a whole song out of this. It's gonna be great. Crab, you know which song I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea. Actually,
I'm gonna find you the song so you can listen to it, so then you can hear my rendition about histories and licking their sap. Of what trial? For the trial where they try to let us commune with the hist. I don't know.
All right, I remember what this was. We were doing a trial, and we had to find a way, even though we were outsiders, anyone who wants to perform the trials of the Argonians, if they complete it, then they can commune with the hist. And the reason you have eating shrooms and tripping is because we had to take this special potion, plant, something from this Argonian, which pretty much forced us into an alternate state where we communed with the hist, and we had to learn something from the hist, because it's all about what you learned from your ancestors and how the past can help you. So while we were tripping on whatever this was, we're following around Argonian spirits to try and learn of a way that we could save this particular group of Argonians. And we're just following spirits around, trying to figure out what's going on. And at the end, we had to solve a puzzle, which, by the way, I love the puzzles in this game. So that was a fun quest.
The puzzles in this game really are kind of. Are you talking about the trial of the mind with the dark eggs? No, that's actually when you find the Mnemic egg. But that one's a good trial. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a 3x3 board, like a tic-tac-toe board. And hello, little Khajiit. How are you? No? He's standing on my shoulder trying to get on my desk. Nope, he's not happy. Go Go Khajiit. All right. Khajiit interference always happens. All right. The trial was, it was a 3x3 board, and you had to remove all the corruption from the eggs. But by clicking on one of the eggs, it would remove a specific set number of other ones. And oh, that's the one I'm talking about. That one was hard. She gives a clue at the end. Like, you have to listen to the Argonian giving you the clue. She doesn't even know she's giving you a clue, like lore-wise, she doesn't know. But the developers made her say something that is the clue to get into it.
I finished it and I'm already in the next room. I'm like, yeah, la da da. I'm just continuing on. And this went on for like 10 minutes. And Aggie's going, babe, how did you beat this? And I'm like, huh? I don't know. I just, whatever. It was easy. I got it. So I'm sitting over here trying to help him, but he had already clicked everything 400 times and his board's all messed up. But eventually I was able to, talk him through it.
I will say one thing about the puzzles in this game. They are good, but they're not near as difficult as Rift's puzzles. The Rift puzzles were so hard, the one in each zone.
The one by the waterfall underneath the bridge, I think it was bottles. That I will never forget that. Never, ever, ever.
I'm glad they have them in there, though. They're really cool. Anyway, we'll move on from this. As we're trying to advance the storyline, before we can even get into the Ayleid rune of Loricel, we have to recover the keystones. And the first keystone we get is actually from a group of scholars trying to unravel the mysteries of the Zanmirs. The Zanmirs were actually the ancient civilization that the Argonians had built before they became hippies, I guess, because they actually had giant Aztec-looking stone buildings that they all of a sudden just stopped living in and decided to go live in mud huts. Like, I really want to find out why. And I might do a lore article on them one day if I can figure out what is going on. But they had these magnificent Zanmir, these giant stone, like, Aztec-looking pyramids that they just abandoned. Now, the one quest we'd found was we found out that particular Zanmirs had a very, very different purpose. And this one was used to contain something that the Argonians wanted to keep hidden. The fabled Fangs of Sithis. Do you remember this quest, Thais?
I do, because we had a difficult decision to make on giving it to the kind Argonian who wanted to protect it.
Why don't you tell us from the start what happened? Do you remember the whole story? Can you?
I do. We found this one Argonian, and he was on an expedition with his friend. I don't remember what race his friend was. I think it was a Nord, but I'm not very good at that. So they were exploring these Zanmirs because our Dominion soldiers had come here and they were looking for something. So these guys, these two explorers wanted to get in there first so they could take what the Dominion wanted so the Dominion couldn't have it. And we had to go around the Sandmere and figure out a way to unlock it. And this Argonian had notes. And we were able to discover how to get in with a key that we found. And using his notes, we were able to find the door. Now, even though we found the door, he had to reflect back to his notes to try and figure out what was stored there. So he told us not to go in. Give me some time. I'll try and figure out what's there. Just please don't go in. It could hurt you. Well, his friend turned out to be very impatient. So as his friend is standing at the door, I'm trying to talk to this guy, to tell him, listen, you gotta wait, because if you go in, you could die. So his impatient friend just barrels on in to this Zanmir, not even knowing what's hidden there, because he wants this treasure so badly. After he's in there, this Argonian comes running up sometimes later, and he's like, no, we can't do this. Please tell me he didn't go in. Something very powerful is hidden here. And there's traps, there's monsters, there's puzzles you have to figure out. This is not good. And we were like, okay, we'll try and figure it out. So Ag and I decided to go into this crypt. So we're exploring, and there was puzzles. Now the first puzzle we kind of failed because I said to pick the wrong vial. So we kind of failed it, and as we were going through, we were taking lots of damage because we were getting eaten alive by poison, and it was just really painful. But we were able to make it past the Guardian and through the end of the next trials to get to this next room. Now, at this point, the Argonian had told us what was stored here, the fabled fangs of Sithis, which were these powerful daggers that Sithis had created for not so much the Dark Brotherhood, but they were given to the Night Mother, they belonged to the Shadow Scales. When we get to the final room where these daggers are supposed to be hidden, we run into this Argonian's impatient friend. But unfortunately, he's kind of lost his mind. You see, he picked up one of these daggers, and because the daggers are so powerful, they're corrupting his mind, and they're just filling him with such power that he can no longer think straight. So we really have to beat him into submission. So after we beat him up, we go into where we start talking to him, and we're like, just give us the daggers. You'll be fine. We'll find a way for you to be okay. And a little bit of his mind seeps through, and he goes, I can't give them to you. I just can't. If I give them to you, then you'll be destroyed, and I can't give them up, and they're a part of me now. But then he mentions that there's only one, which immediately that's a little bit of an issue. So we come to the decision that we have to, for the betterment of everybody, that we have to strike him down. So we kill him, and we take the dagger. And we find out that it's not hurting us, which was a little odd. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to take it from here? All right, let's see. So we take the dagger, and we leave the Zanmir, and we meet up with the Argonian at his second camp, and we tell him what happened. And he's sad to see his friend go, but it just so happened to be what happened. And then all of a sudden, there's this big flash, this burst of smoke, and we're surrounded by this group of shadow scales, which are an offsect of Argonians. These group of Argonians are born under the light of Sithis, and they are taken from birth to be trained as those who keep a balance to the world. And they're threatening to kill us if we don't give them the dagger. And that left us with this choice, because the scales are telling us that the dagger belongs with them, that it was meant for them, it belongs with them, they have to have it, they have to use it, and that if we don't give it to them, they're going to kill us. So then you turn to the Argonian, and the Argonian says, no, we have to protect it, we have to hide it, no one should be able to have this power as their own. It's too dangerous. Now, I won't, in case you want to make your own decision, I won't tell you what we picked. But after that choice, we were brought face to face with none other than Sithis himself. And he starts talking to us, and it's epic. We are in the presence of some type of figure that represents Sithis. And he decides that because of who we are, that the dagger belongs in our possession. So we are entrusted with a fang of Sithis, and it was such a great quest. Not even really part of the main storyline of Shadowfen, but I was so happy to have that.
And now a vendor in Shadowfen has a Fang of Sithis in his inventory somewhere.
They do from me, yes.
From me as well.
Now, I'm going to go over the next part pretty quickly, is we met the last king of Zook, Drillick, the last Kothringi tribesman in existence, since the ones before did not fare so well. And what I'm needless to say, what happens is we actually have to work with him. He has absorbed the keystone. And I'm going to not tell what exactly happened. But one interesting thing that happened here is it's a clear and obvious reference to Game of Thrones. When you unleash him and he goes into his hut, he has a little chair that he sits on with all these swords lined up across, like
it's
tied
wicked.
to it.
It's wicked funny because it's just this little throne and there's like swords sticking out of the back of it. Clearly, the Game of Thrones like throne.
Yeah, it is. It's meant to model out. When I first saw it, even before I told Krabby about it, he's like, "It's a Game of Thrones reference." I looked at it and I saw the swords off the back and I said to Thais, "Hey, look! It looks like the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones." And you essentially work with him to get the last keystone. I'm not going to say what happens to him, but at the very end, he keeps calling you Captain of the Guard. And at the end of one of the quests, you're like, "Dude, I just want the keystone." And he goes, "What? You don't want to be Captain of the Guard?" He's like, "Oh, well, the only other job is Royal Consort. And I mean no offense by this, but you don't intrigue me that way." I laughed so hard I fell off my chair.
He essentially called us ugly. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
He did. He called us ugly. I love that. "Oh, the only other job is Royal Consort, and I mean no offense, but you do not intrigue us in this way." The next section to retrieve the final keystone. Oh, did I say it was the final? Oh, well, there's 3 of them at this point, but the final keystone is in a place called White Rose Prison. And I said that very ominously because the East just stared at me. But you are supposed to recover the last keystone from this prison.
Oops.
I
I just stretched and yawned, so I thought my mic was muted. My bad.
Well, I'm glad you didn't do anything embarrassing. You do fight to get the keystone out, but one way or the other, you have to get this keystone. But before we tell a whole lot, I'm not going to go into the story of this one either. But what exactly is happening at White Rose Prison, Thais?
The power of the keystone is corrupting the prisoners and trapping them, in a sense. And a lot of the prisoners have gone feral, which means that they're eating other prisoners. I don't do well with people eating people, so as soon as that was mentioned to me, I wanted to, throw up all over the place. So yes, that is something you have to deal with at the White Rose Prison. I was not happy about that. And when they attack you, they really do attack you like they're just gonna gnaw your face off. It's really creepy and just not good. I made sure I let Ag walk first everywhere, so he got, most of the full facial attacks. So then, what are you doing over there? So after you figure out that that's what's going on, you're left with a decision. And your decision... Oh, now you want it. Go ahead.
All right. No, we won't tell you what decisions, but you have to make a decision on how to get the keystone. And let's just say after you get the keystone, you go into Lori Cell for the final showdown with Rivatar. I'm going to leave this. I don't like to say what the final is, but we'll just say you have to go in there and free the Shadowfen of Black Marsh from this horrible person and stop his corruption of the Mnemic egg. Upon rescuing the Mnemic egg, though, you are aboard a ship, and they want us to go somewhere. So after finishing the quest, you bound the ship. So Thais and I agree we go on the ship together and go below decks. As the ship arrives at the port, we go up on deck, and if you're there, you can imagine yourself in person. You come up on the deck, and you're greeted with a biting cold air. The smell of salt water and mead fill your nostrils. You open your eyes to nothing but white. The sun shining off the snow is causing whiteout for you. And as you step onto the docks, you realize that you are stepping foot into Skyrim. And more particularly, we have arrived at Windhelm. And I feel like we're finally home. But this is where our tales will end for this evening. And next week, we will regale everyone with our tales of arriving in Skyrim at the city of Windhelm going forward. Um, Actually, why don't one of you guys type in chat that we're moving on to the next section? All right, we are moving on to the next section, which will be our dramatic reading of of a book from the Elder Scrolls. This week, in honor of the Elder Scrolls Online, we are going to host a 4-part series by reading the biographies of the leaders of the faction war. Yurun the Skald King, Queen Aren, High King Emmerich, and finally the Tharn family, who currently controls the Imperial City and the Ruby Throne. This week, we will be continuing our 4-part series with the last and final part, which will be about the Tharn family. The book is called House Tharn of the Nibenay, a history of the Tharn family and descriptions of its modern members. Thais, take it away.
All right, this book is by Count Oppius Voteporix. Oh, there's a lot of words in here. Okay. House Tharn of Shadenhall is one of the most distinguished noble families of northern Nibenay, where they have held extensive estates since early in the First Era. The family may, as they claim, to be as old as the First Era itself. As house historians like to point out, there is a Thoranus ye Red Hand mentioned in the Tamrielian tractates of the First Era year 200. In those days, before Alessia's slave rebellion, this proto-Tharn was apparently a slave overseer employed by the Aeliad elves of Fennicas, a mining hold in the hills north of modern-day Cheydinhall. Based upon the fact that the Aeliads were known to have kept business records in red ink, the Tharn historians posit that this Red Hand was probably literate and employed in some clerical capacity. To be thorough, I will mention Lady Euphemia Glaber's theory that identified this Theranos with the notorious Tharhan the Mutilant of the gradual massacre in the First Era, year 227. But this was completely disproved by the text of the Scroll of Precursor Saints, discovered in the vaults below White Gold Tower by Chancellor Abner Tharn in the Second Era, year 541. House tradition holds that the Tharn family was active in St. Alessia's slave uprising, with one Vilius Tharn serving Pellinal Whitestrake as Blade Servitor and Master of the Abator. But the next Tharn who can definitely be identified in the historical record is Fervidius Tharn of the Alessian Order, who was Archprelate of the Marukatai Selective from the First Era, year 1188, until his death, exact date indeterminate. Fervidius is best remembered today as the author of the sermons denouncing the 17 leniencies. Noble Tharn captains led mercenary companies that fought on both sides of the War of Righteousness in the 2300s. And when the dust settled, General Turpus Volte-Face Tharn was in possession of the broad holdings that the family today calls home. Taking the title Earl of Outer Shadenhall, Turpus married a niece of Admiral Bendu Olo and set about fathering numerous descendants. Several generations of Tharns served nobly and well during the Rayman Empire, including Regulus Tharn, who revived the tradition of imperial battle mages, and Excurius Tharn, Emperor Kostov's Minister of Punition. Which brings us to the members of the Tharn family of our own current day. First and foremost, of course, is the head of the house and longtime Chancellor of the Elder Council, Abnar Tharn. Through times of trouble and the change of emperors, the Chancellor has always been there to provide the continuity and consistency our imperial civilization needs. Second, only out of respect for her elder, is Her Majesty Clivia Tharn, Empress Regent of Cyrodiil, and daughter of Abnar Tharn by his seventh wife, Pulasia. Emperor Clivia is it need hardly be said, is the widow of two emperors, having been the consort of both Leovic and Varin. Scarcely less powerful is the Chancellor's younger half-sister, Euregia Tharn, who has been Queen of Rimmon since the Frostfall coup in Second Era 576. And what would social events in the Imperial City be like without the presence of her son, the droll and charming Javad Tharn? Truly, House Tharn has come to epitomize the modern Nibenese nobility. We can only hope that they continue to be with us through the future, whatever it may bring. Note, effusive enough? Also, forget to work in Magus General Septima. Must get that A, promised.
Awesome.
I love the Tharn family.
I was going to say, for anyone who doesn't know, and it's kind of fascinating, here's going to be a little bit of a lore tidbit. The Tharn family has a fairly long history, as it already says in the book. But if anyone's interested in being the very first, playing the very first Elder Scrolls 1 Arena, the main antagonist is who? Jagar Tharn, the Imperial Battle Mage, and counselor to Emperor Uriel Septim VII.
Oh, that's interesting.
So one would think that it was Abner Tharn's progeny that is causing all the issues in Elder Scrolls 1 Arena. And quite honestly, you could also argue that he's also the one who causes all the events going forward, because it's arguably because of Uriel Septim VII's imprisonment in the Daedric realms that he has the visions, because it's all because of these visions he sees. Because if you play Oblivion, the very opening scene says that, you know, for 80 years he's been for 40 years he's been the Emperor of Tamriel, and that entire time he's never been the master of his own dreams. And one could theorize that it was his imprisonment in the Daedric realms while still alive that gave him this clairvoyance, if you will, this foresight, which it was all Uriel Septim VII who sent off each person in the Elder Scrolls series up until Oblivion when he died. Elder Scrolls 1 through 4 take place within a 40-year time period. And each time it is at the urging of Uriel Septim VII to send an unknown person to a great destination to thwart some things. And some say it's because of this clairvoyance and foresight that he has because of his imprisonment in the Daedric realm by Jagar Tharn that he can do this. It's really fascinating. So there's my little bit of lore knowledge that I just dropped on people. Moving on to our next section. This week, for a community spotlight, we have decided to spotlight the Imperial Library. I thought it would go hand in hand with last week's spotlight because both of these sites are dedicated to the lore of the Elder Scrolls series. Whereas last week, the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages dealt more with articles on the site that, you know, they write lore articles and they kind of go in depth. This site does exactly what its name is. It is a library for all the books in the series that have been, and the site has been around since 98, actually. And there's a big about section. I went onto their about section today and was reading a little bit about their history. It's passed through a lot of different hands before it came to here. And they have a fairly large staff. It's quite amazing to be around for this long, like all these people that have been part of this Imperial Library project. But you can go here and you can read all the books just like you would in game. This is where I actually go each week to get our dramatic readings. I kind of pick a title and then I go there to find all the stuff because it's easier just to get it off of there. So I encourage everyone to go to their site. It is www.imperial-library.info and check out their books. And as always, thank you, Imperial Library, for being an amazing part of the Elder Scrolls community and for helping to share the lore of this amazing game world. Thank you so much. All right. Next section is our guild spotlight. Time for a guild update. I'm going to go over, as always, for those interested in joining our friends and family guild for the fans of Tales of Tamriel, you can whisper or send an in-game mail to at Aggelos or at Tier Eater or, as the stream says, at Krabby, what is it, 654?
Yep.
Okay. So it's Aggelos, spelled Aggelos, since apparently my name is very hard to pronounce or type, and at Tier Eater, Teareater, and at Krabby, Crabby 654. Yes. Sorry, bad with numbers. For those that are interested to PvP with us in Cyrodiil, we are representing the Ebonheart Pact on the Hope's Fire campaign. As always, blood for the Pact.
There's
Blood for the pack.
one thing I want to add to the guild update, if you don't mind.
Oh, go for it.
I had one person ask me something. So the podcast is most definitely PG, but the guild chat and Ventrilo is a lot more loose. For anybody interested in joining. I mean, not dropping F-bombs every other word, but, people, will act how they act, and it's fine. So for anybody interested in joining, be warned that we're not PG everywhere. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Obviously, we try to keep everything as clean as possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are some guilds that are strictly, no swearing on vent and in guild chat, and we're not that strict. It's somebody approached me and asked me about it, so I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody wanting to join.
All right, cool. I did want to say I'm actually really amazed by the size of our guild, how many people have been interested in joining us. Thais, how many members are we up to now?
I think we're at 82.
Whoa,
82?
What the hell?
Yeah, I was very surprised. We've the amount of people who've been interested in joining us in game has been amazing, and it's been fun. It's been really fun. I do want to mention off the bat, I had been talking with Krabby and Thais and stuff of that nature, and as such, with the Friends and Family Guild, we are getting fairly large, and people are looking to do different things within the guild. I'm still under the stance that our guild is a friends and family, and that we won't be doing any scheduled events. But if there's anyone who is interested in doing something along those lines, please let myself or Tier Eater or Krabby know, and we'd like to talk to you. I think that's all we had for now. I was getting to that. Okay, I'm gonna let Thais take over this part of the guild update because she's got a big smile on her face. So go ahead, Thais.
All right. Well, last week we announced that Ag and I were having a little contest to see in a week's time how many Nern roots we could get from, people mailing them to us, giving them to us, who would win if we put that out there to send us Nern roots. And I am so happy to announce that I won the contest.
I want to recount. I don't believe it.
I demand a recount as well.
Florida screwed up.
I do. I won the contest. I'm so happy. In a week's time, I have 147 Nern roots.
Oh my
That is
God.
how much was sent to me from the loving fans, whereas Ag only had 70.
Oh, you got 7. I thought you was gonna say 7.
No,
That's what I was really.
I
hoping.
also got a Nernroot wine.
Well, realistically, Ag only had 45,
Oh.
but because of a friend of mine sent me 51 the
Holy
very first day, and I thought it would only be fair to split that between us both since we do know him outside of game. So I split that between us, but in reality, he only got 45, and I just blew him out of the water. So I'm so happy.
And everyone who sent to her, I have your numbers or your account names, and you will be kicked from the guild as soon as I log back in.
That's
Just
so
be
funny.
forewarned. You have officially just been G-kicked. I'm just kidding.
Just so everybody knows, anybody who sent me or Aggelos Nern root, if you would like your Nern root back, because we did keep everything, we wrote down everything we got, let us know, and we will happily send your Nirnroot back to you so that we're not hoarding everybody's Nirnroot as much as we would like to.
I'm gonna hit return to sender for. I kept everything in the mail, so I'm just gonna hit return to sender for the people. And if you really don't want it, send it back. But it was just for a fun contest. So thank you for everyone who participated. Thank you for those who did send to me. I hate everyone who sent to my wife, and you're all getting G kicked.
Thank you to everybody who helped me win. I love you all very, very much. I really needed this victory a lot. So yes, thank you again.
I still get more loot than you. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. We are going to go to the emails section of our podcast. We had 3 new 5-star reviews this week, and I'm going to take the first one. Ace, you'll take the second, and Krabby, you'll get the third. First off, from Dismalted, I love the title he gave. Delightfully nerdy. We got a 5-star review. This show is packed with news, in-depth analysis, tales of adventure, lore, music, and everything else you could want in an Elder Scrolls show. May Talos guide you all. Well, thank you, Dismantled. That was awesome. All right, Thais, you're up.
All right, let's see. The next one is from Mind of Tez. Awesome, 5 stars. Love the podcast. It gets me through the weekday when it arrives on iTunes. Keep up the good work. And now for Krabby.
Now, this is really the best review we've gotten so far. So, this is by Lanny Cub. Great show, 5 stars. Wonderful program and very well done. Love the hosts, Aggelos, Thais, and who doesn't love Krabby? Oh, I knew it. I really enjoy you guys, and I've listened to every episode.
There was one person out there.
I knew there was someone out there. I really I've listened to every episode. Only wish you were there more. Only wish there were more. Would recommend to any Elder Scrolls fan. Excellent.
We did have one message from the talesoftamriel.com site that they were emailed in. Thais, why don't you try reading this one?
All right, this is from Betula Unal. I could actually pronounce it. Greetings. I'll just say this. In an MMORPG, I hate to create a new character by... Whoa, okay, I can see why. I hate to create a new character by also switch to NA server after watching Tales of Tamriel podcast. That is how amazing Tales of... Oh, okay, I hate to create a new character, but... Okay, that is how amazing Tales of Tamriel is. Keep up the great work. May we draw swords together in Tamriel. Arcaneer. Oh, it's from Ark!
Yep, there you go.
For a second, I thought Ag wrote it because there was like so many misspelled words there.
I was actually thinking the same thing.
I hate you both. So not only is everyone getting kicked from the guild, but I'm going to go down to a solo podcast here pretty soon. See how this is? I see. Mm-hmm. All right. It is that time of the day again for our final thoughts. And to let everyone know where they can follow us, so Thais, tell us your final thoughts for this episode.
Well, a lot of information for everybody. They just keep coming out with more on Craglorn and the trials, and it's doing nothing but pumping me up and wanting it to get here sooner. It was definitely a great show. I really enjoyed it. And, you know, as last week, you can reach me in-game at Tear Eater, TearEater.
Excellent. And Krabby, why don't you go over your final thoughts for the show as well as the recap on your giveaway as well?
Yeah, I was going to do that. Yeah, show was great. Can't wait for 1.1. Higher textures for things not human. Yeah. The contest, remember, on talesoftamriel.com, when you see this show up there, episode 14? Is it 14?
Yes, and
episode
it will
14.
be up on Monday. It will be up on Monday.
There you go.
Barring any problems.
Episode 14 on Monday. Go to that thread, post, and leave feedback. And, just leave feedback. More than one word. Don't say cool, because I'm not going to count that. You leave feedback. If you don't want the 60 days of game time for some strange reason, say you don't want it. I'm going to take everyone's name, put it in a generator. It's going to pop out a name, and you're going to win. I may do it live next week. I'll have to see how it goes. But I'll say who wins next week. I'm going to get it off Amazon. If you're in a different country, I don't know how that works, but I'll figure something out. And I wanted to shout out Kipster in the guild, because he's been like my veteran rank buddy, and he's totally awesome. And we've been doing stuff all week, veteran rank wise.
I actually have a shout out for Kipster as well. I think if it wasn't for Kipster, I would not have won on the Nerd Root Challenge.
See, now I'm torn, because I was going to do a shout out for Kipster too, but now I think I have to kick him. Well, Kipster, I really did like you when you were our guild rent-a-tank, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to kick you now. How many did he give you?
I won't release that information.
I'm very disappointed in you, Kipster. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm very sad. That's my final thoughts for the show, is I'm very sad. All right, I want to thank all of my co-hosts for joining me this evening. As also, thank you to Krabby for doing his giveaway. That is really generous of him. Thank you so much. I want to thank the entire Tales of Tamriel Guild for hanging out with us, for all the people who listen to our podcast. I'm not going to share the exact numbers, but I did tell some people in our guild and stuff like that I got an interesting email with our statistics giving an overview of how many times we were downloaded and stuff like that. And I'm just going to say it's amazing. I'm not going to give exact numbers.
I was sure it was going to be done when I started talking on the show.
Yeah, that was it. But no, it's been going up, and the amount of people that have been downloading our show is just amazing, and it is amazing to us. I do want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. If you want to help support the podcast, feel free to donate via the PayPal link on our website. If you want to contact us with questions, comments, criticisms, anything like that, our website for the show is talesoftamriel.com. You can email the show at podcasts@talesoftamriel.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at Tales of Tamriel, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tales of Tamriel podcast. Also, feel free to rate and subscribe to us via iTunes. The ratings definitely help us out a lot, and we do appreciate them so much. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of Tales of Tamriel. Have a good night, everybody. And recorded, done.
Okay.
2 hours, 59 minutes, 33 seconds, so we'll be over 3 hours again for the show.
I'm going to send you the time.
Okay, thank you.
Who's the one writing down the timestamps?
Me.
Oh.
I'm giving him the time for the stream, so he doesn't put the full, 3.5 hours up.
Yeah. There's 2 timestamps. He sends me the timestamps for the stream, so that way when I export it from Twitch to YouTube, I have to go, okay, here's the start of the episode, here's the end of it. Now, the individual ones where I go through and do the timestamps, I'd listen to the episode and write down the time on my player of when I start doing the next topic.
For some reason, in the middle of the episode, somebody tweeted me out a YouTube video of Tywin Lannister dancing in some movie wearing a miniskirt, and I was like, what the hell? And I clicked it, and it started playing this really weird music, and I was like, oh crap, I'm still streaming. Some people watching probably heard it, but not the podcast, but the Twitch viewers.
That's funny. That's really funny. We're nothing but professional here, I can see. All right, well, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn the stream off, and I'm going to take a shower and get ready to play some Mo tonight.
That's what I'm gonna do too. Yeah. Not together, everyone.
Well,
Anyone's still listening.
Whatever then. All right, yeah. So now I'll probably talk to you guys in the game.
All right, cool, man. See you then.
See you, Krabby.
Mm-hmm.